to be there. It could be a whole line of 10 old LDs or old LIs or J-Ranges. It's a scooter graveyard, but it's fantastic. And this is where the restoration starts. Looks like we've got a good crop on this visit. Here we go. J50, J50, Series 1 LI. I'd imagine most of these are usually for customers or who have bought them in to have them restored. We have an LD. We have a Vega 75 here. Now this one will be about 1964. This is an interesting bike. This was produced by a company called Ibar and had the turning front mudguard. Now, and an extension down here on the horn casting. The mudguards you can find occasionally, the horn castings are difficult to find. It is, it's definitely a very Spanish machine. And the LD style badges here. This would be about a 64. But the turning front mudguard, interestingly, was used in Britain for a model called the Rally Master. Bolly. Yeah, these are the tax discs here. If you're looking for a restoration project, this is the sort of thing that you want to be going for. Unless you've got a very rich father or you're rich yourself, because things like the SX200s and TVs have just become far too expensive now. This is still an economy model, and this is what this was all about right from the very beginning. It was what it was about when I first got into them. It was just a cheap, affordable form of transport which got you from A to B, and once you'd earned your first bit of money, you put an MOT and bought some insurance. Fantastic. Oh, we've got a GP150 or in Italy a 150 DL. We can't look at this without noting the ink blot on the front here. Now, rumour has it that Bertoni, the guy who designed Ferrari, he was brought in to redesign the Lambretta, to give it some extra styling and to also save on costs. But when his plans were actually presented to the Innocenti family, they looked at it and they said, well, yeah, that's okay, but can we cut this and can we cut that? And Bertoni was so hacked off because he'd been asked to design a machine and suddenly someone's just throwing costs at him and he wanting to change everything. So the story goes that he threw his pen down in disgust and it left a big ink blot on the plans. As a tribute, I guess, to Bertoni himself, we have this sticker. Here. Here I am with Vittorio, who's given me a sneak preview of the new museum that will be open in a week. We're very privileged, and he's also here to help me if I make any mistakes and to point them out to me.
Sorry, it's not finished.
Oh, it's okay. 2 weeks it's going to be finished, but there's no need to apologise. We're just lucky to be here, and it's great. Here we have a beautiful 1947 Model A Lambretta. Foot gear change. Nice bare handlebars. That will tell you straight away it's an A and not a Model B, which we have next door. Absolutely beautiful machine, this one. You've got the gear selector up here. If we have a look in here, we've got first, second, third. As you twist, this indicator moves up and down. Same frame, but something that's been introduced to this one is the rear suspension. If we look down here, this is our suspension. Other differences, we've obviously got the gear selector box here. Now this one stayed the same and was carried through over onto the early Model Cs and LCs. Nice machine. In this sort of condition, this sort of original condition is really rare and a real privilege to have a look at. And if it wasn't for machines like this, you wouldn't actually have a guide in order to be able to restore these in the future. Just little things. Were things zinc plated, nickel plated, nuts, bolts. Fantastic. The front wheel here was also enlarged from a 7-inch to an 8-inch wheel and was held in place by the front mudguard rather than what we would know as an ordinary set of Lambretta forks where the wheel would be bolted in tightly into 2 links on either side. This, fantastic. This is an unrestored 1951 Model C. LC rather. Beautiful condition. We can see here, we have the beginnings of your standard Lambretta forks. We've got springs coming up here and the cantilever effect. This was a great improvement on the Model B, but still had a little way to go. Here we have a Model B racer, private customer, privately built, lovely example. Here we have a very important machine. This is a Model C racer, and the engine number is actually number 1. This was built by the Innocenti family and never sold on. A very special machine. Everything has been remodified on it, crankshafts, gearbox, this carburettor, absolutely gigantic. Absolutely unique, not another one in the world. This bike has a completely remodified engine. It has stronger gears, stronger crankshaft, an accessory tank. This seat cover is an original one. The bike itself has been repainted. The tyres, we have proper Corsa racing tyres, and down here a larger front brake. Obviously if you're going faster you need to stop faster. Now this is a very good condition 1957 Mark III LDB. As we've already said, it was the Mark III that had the cowling here. Very good condition, very interesting, but not as interesting as the Ribot next door. Now this came out in about 1954, 55.
This is the last model,
This,
because I have 2 cables for the gear.
Rather than this is the second series.
58, 59.
That's it. We've got, yeah, this is the second series. As we've already said, 2 gear cables here. We also do not have an external coil here and a different air filter. Exactly. This bike's capable of doing over 200 miles to the gallon and is popular nowhere else in the world except for Venice.
Venice, Venezia, Veneto.
Yeah.
Trieste is popular.
Yeah, and nowhere else in the world except my house and Vittorio's museum. What we have here is a cutaway. These machines were actually used for publicity purposes back in, well, when the vehicles were being produced, in order for people to be able to see how they worked and how they've been put together. A lot of... Hey, it all turns over, look at that. We can get the camera in here. We can...
Sorry, no gasoline.
There's no petrol in it,
No petrol.
but we can get an idea as to how the engine runs. Piston up and down here, vertically obviously, rather than forwards and back. We've got the clutch here, the gearbox, the kickstart mechanism, LD kickstarts, not my favourite. No, nobody's favourite. And the shaft drive, no chain on here, and you can see the shaft in the centre here. This is an LI 150 Series 2. Very nice. You can tell it's a 150 from the badge and the running strips that are rubber. Now this one on the side has got written Lambretta Servizio Olimpiadi Roma. Yeah? What's going on here? Oh. Hang on, yeah. Let's pop it on there. There we go. The Olympic Games? Yeah? Oh. So an official tour bike. Yeah.
80 pieces. 80 pieces and 20 motor rickshaw.
And 20 rickshaw, yeah?
Rickshaw.
And that was Lambretta as well. Yeah, Lambretta.
The one they crossed.
Mm-hmm. This is a 1952?
51.
51. This was built under license by the Germans. If you have, there we go. There's loads of little differences. We've got a bigger horn here, an NSU badge, a different light rim, locks there. The mudguard has got a ridge in it here. This is very interesting. What NSU did, they built these machines under license, and after a short time they decided that they didn't really want to be paying Innocenti a lot of money for building these things, so they just built their own. They changed the engines, made a few other alterations, and just stopped paying what they owed Innocenti and started producing their own. And there was a big argument between the two companies. But this is a very early one. This is a proper Lambretta built by NSU. Very rare. Well, I think this is about a 1954?
53.
53.
The last model.
Yeah, the very last model.
Very last.
Very interesting. Very rare. And I'm going to let Vittorio explain all about this one, because no, you know more than I do.
This is the first produced in the 50, in the 51, and changed for 3 times in this type. But the engine as a frame is the first. The number 1 modified in 2 years. The head, 2 axes.
2 plugs in there.
The carburetor.
Shaft drive.
Just arrived change. Understand?
Yeah.
12, 14, 48, 11, 46.
And that's the ratio. That's the gear ratio inside. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's interesting. So change the ratio and you just cross it out and stamp the new one on there. I'd like one of these. Very beautiful. And a strong warning to the motorcycle industry that if they produce scooters, Innocenti would come back with something like this and give them something to worry about. That's beautiful. This is a 1969, 1970 J125 Super Starstream. It has a false horn casting here, a turning front mudguard, more closely trying to resemble the Vespa, I guess. 2-tone paintwork, had an awful lot of money spent on the advertising campaign to try and get it to sell. Not many machines were actually built, but this is a fantastic example of one. This was the last in the line for the J-Range series. Cento 100, done in a lovely ivory. Is this paintwork original? Original paintwork, lovely shine for original paintwork. Not perfect, very good enough. The handling on these isn't particularly good. The steering is very light. The steering head bearings are really small on them and they're fiddly. Getting the cables through the frame that's an advantage of a Lambretta. It shouldn't be a disadvantage which you get with the J-Ranges.
In 75 I bought 2 years ago from one woman. He bought new in the 69 and now never used.
Never used it.
And he sold me 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I promised to this girl again. I put it in the museum because it's very, very good condition. Original paint, original silence, all original.
That is absolutely perfect.
Very, very good condition.
Look at that. Well, what a privilege. The museum isn't even open yet. Vittorio's had to go back home now. It's left us with the keys to lock up. A fantastic collection. Lots of little stories attached to them as well. The little Lambretta Vega back there that was given to Vittorio on the condition that he put it in the museum. It has virtually 0 miles on it. The Olympian Lambretta Li Series 2 here, one of 80 that was used for the Olympic Games. These, the cutaway machines, lent by the Innocenti factory to the museum. This cutaway poster here, an actual size of an LD, also lent by the Innocenti factory. We've got the Model C Racer over here, only 3 of those in the world, all of them owned by Vittorio. The warning to the motorcycle industry, and what an awesome warning it was, to keep out of scooter production. A little bit of extra history here. It's time to end it now, but we're going to finish off tomorrow by going to the Innocenti factory itself in Lambretta and see what's left of the factory that built this amazing scooter. 3-4 minutes and we're going to be at the Innocenti plant. With any luck, we're going to get some storming coverage. It's very exciting. Almost never, for years, I didn't even dream that I would ever come and visit the plant itself. And here we are, minutes away. When I got my first Lambretta at the age of 15, and I started restoring it, and got it ready for my 16th birthday, a Lambretta Pt3, registered dodgily as a 50cc. I'm sure anyone in England will understand. I never thought that 18 years on, I'd be driving to the very factory where it was built. It's funny. It's funny that I'm feeling emotional about this. It should be just a factory. I have no idea what we're going to find there. It may all be knocked down, and maybe nothing at all. I don't know. But one thing's for sure, I'm really excited about it. We're outside one of only 4 remaining buildings at the old Innocenti plant. This is the main gate, an office area. This is where the story began, and over here are the gates, which were closed in 1971, never to be opened again. The buildings that are left, I'm sure, are soon to be demolished. Most of the plant has been knocked down, and we have a huge, great housing project going on behind us. Homes for thousands of people. Mixed feelings now. It's exciting to be here, but it's also rather sad when you look at the state of the building now. You can imagine painters, polishers, assembly plant workers, cleaners, chromers, everyone flooding through these gates, dispersing throughout the whole of Milan. We have marble walls here. In its heyday, these would have been gleaming. Classic 1940s, 50s architecture. Still here, but not for long. Rotting, stained, covered in graffiti. But there's still some majesty. The way that the gates are constructed. Stainless steel. You could still polish this up. I'm feeling very emotional. On one hand, it's upsetting that something that was once so vibrant